live right now. Okay, we're live. Music's playing. I'm going to fade me over. I'm going to fade you in. And I did the wrong screen for me. All of that.
There we go.
One mistake, and rock and roll, fade out the music. And we are live
What's
in the
funny is, okay.
Maybe tilt your screen forward just a hair. Perfect. Perfect. All right, so this is the first one that's going to go on YouTube.
Okay.
And I didn't tell you this, so Art and I spoke for quite a bit. Art R of Sigma S. I don't do first and last names, just for anonymity's sake.
Okay.
And if we refer to people, try to use nicknames and stuff like that, or first names only, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
People won't appreciate, sometimes don't appreciate it when you refer to them. You outed me. Anyway, so here's, which I didn't tell you how I got started. For years now, so with my spinal cord injury, it takes me a very long time to get ready in the morning. So I get up at 4:30.
Okay.
I get up at 4:30 on work days, and I throw on cable network news, and I go between Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and just kind of do the round robin to get the totally unobjective take from all unobjective sides. So I find myself like frustrated, talking back to the TV, every morning. This has been going on and on for years. So podcasts started becoming more and more popular, and finally, about a year ago, I was like, why don't I stop yelling at the television and just buy a camera and some software and start yelling at the world? So last May, I started a podcast that's called 8 Ballin'. It's kind of like a radio show, and I've got a co-host. So I do that once a week, but I want to do this, which I shared with you, which is, former good friends in college, good friends in high school who, mostly from Facebook, appear to be interested and have something to say that, would provide an entertaining conversation for 30 or 60 minutes. So
Okay.
that's how this whole thing started. So all the catching
Now I
up.
have one.
Go ahead.
How much delay is there between when I talk and you talk? A couple seconds?
Less than a second. And when
Okay.
when it records and posts, it's instant. So there's no latency when it's finally recorded. On my end, it's instant. I don't know what you're experiencing on your end.
Well, you said end, but I can feel a slight delay, but that's fine.
Okay.
I'll just play with it.
Okay. Yeah. So, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy doing nothing. A successful Sunday for me during the winter is not leaving the house, watching sports, watching golf, taking a nap. If I go out to get food, that's no biggie. But in the summer, I like to do things. But I don't feel too cooped up right now. I brought work home. I'm an attorney. I have files I can work on, and I take naps. I have a couch in my office, so I can take naps. I survived law school and actually college by taking power naps, and it probably screwed up how I sleep at night because I don't think I've ever slept a straight 8 hours of sleep. And I do have type 2 diabetes. One of the side effects is you pee a lot, and the urgency to pee is that much greater. So if I have to get, some nights I'm up every single hour going to the bathroom.
So do you work into the night too? Is that part of what contributes maybe to the naps, or?
No, I do a lot of data input, working on the computer, and it just gets you tired.
Okay.
So I'll take a 15-minute nap.
Rest your eyes, rest your mind.
Yeah.
So are you a solo practitioner, or do you have other partners?
No, it's just me, myself. I'm in an office with about 20 other attorneys. Most of them do criminal. There's a domestic law firm. There's a personal injury guy. A couple guys do immigration, and then one guy does workers' comp. One guy does real estate. But I just strictly do bankruptcy, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13.
So do you have a setup where you like share a secretary and some paralegals, that kind of thing, or?
I really don't need it. I do all my own work. I used to work in a firm, and we would have law students as paralegals, and they would prepare the petition. So a bankruptcy petition consists of all your property, your creditors, your income, your budget, and some questions regarding your financial affairs. And I found that when I review a petition that someone else prepared, it took me just as long to review it as to prepare it. And so when I prepare it, I know it's going to be, I know, if I made a mistake, it's my mistake. But I don't like making mistakes. I don't like going to a hearing and saying, oh, I made a mistake. So I'm pretty meticulous in the work that I do. And I mean, the system, how I have it set up, is pretty mainstream. So if I have to do a motion or a letter, I have a form document, I push a button, bam, it's done. I might have to, fix it up a little bit here and there. But on the whole, it's a fairly streamlined practice that I have. And my overhead's low, so I don't need to be completely busy.
Is it fun or entertaining?
Um, the stories are so-so. I mean, criminal law, you always have a good story to tell your friends. Just I'm happy doing it. I do enjoy it. A little burned out, but I've been doing it since 1990. I've been practicing since 94, and I've been on my own since 2001.
So,
But
like my
I
dad
enjoy it.
would tell us, they call it work for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I do for a living is fine. There's other things I'd certainly rather do, but I like getting paid. So
Yeah.
there's that trade-off. Um, what were some of the things you and I went over while we were trying to iron out the technical difficulties before? I
Well, I
forget.
was using my computer and my laptop. It's probably about 4 years old. It's an Asus, and I could get to your website for this podcast, but I could type, but I didn't have any audio or video.
Oh,
Then I
no,
went to Firefox. Oh,
no, it's
but
fine. I was talking about. I just remembered you were telling me about your kids and your step grandchildren and all that.
oh,
That's
okay. Yeah, I was single for a long time. Met my wife on a friend's boat on the Ohio River. A lot of the friendships that I have are from hanging out on the river, boating, and that type of thing. And my wife was recently separated from her husband. Her brother was friend with my friend. She's on the boat. We met. Um, and she's a Buckeye. She played soccer for Ohio State. Yeah. But she got pregnant freshman year, had 2 kids, got married. I actually used to play soccer against her ex-husband, not
uh,
knowing who he was or who she was.
like back in high school.
And no, after college.
Okay.
So I played was assistant CRC, Cincinnati Recreation Commission, and my team name was the Rude Buddhas. And years later, I met my wife, and she has 2 kids. My stepdaughter has 2 kids. They both begin with G, and the third one's on the way, and she's trying to keep the tradition of keeping
Oh,
it G. So I said Garther, and she didn't go for that. I said, "Mom, Garth, you like country music, Garth Brooks," but no, she didn't go for that.
so you have one on the way right now?
No, my stepdaughter does.
Oh
I have
yeah.
no
Okay.
kids.
Got it. Okay.
I only have stepkids.
Got it. Okay. And 2 dogs.
And 2 dogs. When my wife and I got together, we had 4 dogs. I had 2 border collies. She had 2 chocolate labs. And I mean, if you want to, I mean, it's a good story on how the dogs all sort of went away. But I don't know if you want me to go into that or not, but it's kind of a funny story.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so my wife's on a cruise with her mother, and I'm staying at her house, basically not babysitting, but taking care of the kids. Her kids were 18 and 14, And Mandy, the 14-year-old chocolate lab, wasn't doing very well. And so I got a call from I'm going to say Erin, my stepdaughter, saying Mandy's dead. And so I drove home, and I get there, and it's raining a little bit. I'm like, why is your dad's truck here? She's like, well, I called him. I'm like, where is he? Because he's out back trying to bury the dog. And it was a 80-pound lab, and here he is right next to the garden digging a big hole, burying the dog.
Oh my gosh.
And so I help him, and he and I get along okay. And so I had to call my wife. She calls me from a phone, and I said, well, we have good news and bad news. She said, what's the good news? I said, well, they accepted our bid on the house. What's the bad news? I said, Mandy died, and she's buried in your backyard. And she's like, dig him up. So the next day I dug the dog up. I had a
Oh my
roller on
gosh.
yeah. So, I mean, it was a big hole. I mean, it wasn't like a little, I'm like saying to Aaron,
I'm
you
more
can't
thinking
bury
of like digging up the poor dog,
Yeah.
and
What
how
was it wrapped in
horrific that would be. Just
It
if
was
you're a
one day
dog lover.
later. Yeah. It wasn't that big a deal. That wasn't big. I mean, we were joking about it because it was like, where's the wife? There's the husband and boyfriend burying something in the backyard. Maybe it was the wife. But so I dug up the dog and took it to the place where you take pets to get incinerated, and it's called CHRMAC,
It's a little.
because her name's Charlotte, but I call it Charmac because you're charring your dog to death. Well,
Yeah.
it's already a dog. So that was sort of a funny story. And then her other chocolate lab died. We think she ate some buckeyes. So we have a buckeye tree in our yard, and buckeyes are poisonous. So we get home one night, and there's about 20 pounds of throw up, and Zoe died a few days later.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but now we have two labs. Morgan, come here, Morgan. My wife took him outside. So yeah, and so we're empty nesters, and it's nice. About this whole coronavirus thing, it's not so bad being at home. But I was watching ESPN2, and they had it called as the Ocho. One day they had stone skipping contest,
Oh
and
my
the next
gosh.
day it was cherry pit spitting contest.
So that's our
So
live. That's our live sports right now. Yeah. When things have changed so much in like 2, 3, even a week, but in terms of how everything is adjusted in 2 weeks, so I was thinking we got work at home starting a week ago last Monday. So I've been working at home. I started the Friday before. And I was thinking, well, at least maybe they'll do like March Madness, and it'll just be empty arenas, and that'll be fun and on in the background when I'm working, and, nice diversions. And man, oh man, next thing you know, like you said, you're watching stone skipping. There was college football on this morning. I woke up and I was just turned the TV on, and I was hoping it was going to be something entertaining, but it was, I don't know, a non-significant game, but even at that, I was excited to see the Rose Bowl or something played over again. Man, how
yeah.
quickly things have changed. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm here. I live alone. I don't know if it was a little cryptic in the way I shared it, but I lost my life partner less than a year ago. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, thanks. So I got 3 dogs. They keep this place pretty lively. And not a huge house, but big enough that it's a little quiet being here, with this cooped up thing that's going to last who knows how long. And this is crazy.
Yeah.
And we were talking, Detroit got hit hard, especially the city of Detroit. There's a lot of Detroit police that have tested positive. They just announced today that the chief of police tested positive. One cop died, 38 and healthy. And but Wayne County's been hit very hard, which is not too far from here. So I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
April 13th, the mandated, stay at home, essential work order gets lifted, but I'm in here for longer. I'm not going to fuck
Yeah,
with this.
they'll probably continue it.
And I'm a little bit, I'm definitely in an at-risk category because my paralysis is so high that I can't cough real strongly. So if I were to get real bad pneumonia, that would be not good for me. So I am not going to, play with this at all.
Right.
So
How are
I
you
see.
having food delivered to your house?
Yeah. I've got a pretty good support network. So my mom has pretty well sequestered herself, so she and I see each other and visit. But beyond her, I don't even let people in the house.
Okay.
So um, Huey, who everybody should know, um,
Okay.
he's been running errands for me, and I got pretty well prepared when I kind of figured it was going to wind up being like this. So I kind of stocked up. I didn't hoard shelves, but bought a significant amount of food a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I'm fairly well prepared to weather this. If a month passed, I don't think I'd need anything. So,
Right.
but it's
We were
weird.
low on toilet paper.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the whole toilet paper rush is very bizarre to me. I don't know if people thought they were going to be eating more and using the bathroom a lot, or, that seems to be the
Well,
one thing that people just totally binged on.
when I talked to a grocer and I said, "How long will this toilet paper thing last?" He said, "At least 2 months." I'm like, "Why 2 months?" And he said, "We, the United States gets their toilet paper from China. China makes
Uh,
our toilet paper." And I mean, I couldn't find toilet paper anywhere. I went to a local um, hardware store and they had some, so I bought 2 bundles of toilet paper. They still had plenty, so I didn't hoard it. What I think would be smart for American paper companies, start making toilet paper. Start make or American companies in general start making things that we used to make that China makes now. I read somewhere saying that they ship chickens to China to get butchered, and then they bring them back to the United States.
I saw the
That is
same thing. Yeah,
ridiculous. I
they
can't
grow them
imagine all the chicken.
right, meaning they grow them here, they ship them there, they butcher them, they ship them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the same thing. I did read though that there are paper mills in the United States because the wood industry is so significant here that do actually make
Okay.
some toilet paper here, but obviously not enough to satisfy demand. I just figured, people a month from now would be looking at their shelf and they'd still have 2/3 of their toilet paper left, and maybe the rest of us who didn't do that would start to have some of that available. Who knows? Who knows?
Crazy times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely unprecedented. Nothing. I mean, Cincinnati had riots back in 1999. We had riots, and it was like you couldn't. There was a curfew. You couldn't go downtown to the bars, but you could go to neighborhood bars. So that's what we did. That's the closest thing that I had in my lifetime like this. And you talk to older people, and they'll talk about the '60 riots, but still nothing in our lifetime is similar to what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, nothing at all.
And is it media hype? I mean, the numbers, yes, there's hype, and the hype's good because it is telling people not to be around other people. I mean, New York is with subway systems, with people in the streets, it was easy to spread. Um, I mean, then I heard this one story of a guy who got it. He was overseas, came back, had COVID-19. He was in contact with 362 people, and only his wife got it. So it's hard to say, what exactly is going on, but you're right. I mean, one of the best ways to stop anything is to be at basically house arrest. China's finally going back to work. Hopefully, it doesn't start spreading again. And if this goes through April and things start back up and it puts a damper on everything, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, in terms of the reality of it, the most centrally located hospital in Detroit, which is like at the north end of Detroit and kind of right where the burbs touch, and is central, north, south, and east, west, they closed their ER for 12 hours to regroup. I mean, they literally closed the hospital that takes the most people. So here, I mean, they're at critical mass right now, and they're starting to actually take people who can survive an ambulance ride and take them out, an hour, 2 hours away into cities that aren't overloaded. So
Okay.
Detroit's not far behind New York in terms of just being completely overwhelmed and overcapacitized, or being
Mhm.
undercapacitized to manage the people. So it's
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy. So I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do a time travel.
Okay.
And tell a story? Do you remember getting me in trouble? Kind of.
No, I don't.
Do you remember driving out west?
But are you the one who parked my car in the middle of the law quad?
I don't think so. Um, there's a lot of things I
Okay, how did
did.
I get you in trouble?
You remember driving out to uh, Wendy R's parents' condo in Vale? It was you, me,
Ye-
Huey, and Mattone.
Okay, yeah.
And Huey's,
Yeah, was it in Beaver Creek?
it was. Oh, it was in Eagle, which is basically Beaver Creek. Yeah.
Okay, Eagle, right.
Yeah. So we had this big kind of, I guess, industrial sized walkie talkie that was basically a handheld CB radio. And you were
Okay.
on CB detail, and I was driving. And we were in Iowa, and it was like Iowa City or Des Moines, whatever, one of the big cities. So your job was like police patrol, listening to the truckers and all that. And you said, hey, I
Okay.
gotta. You don't remember this?
No.
Oh my gosh. So
Keep
I'm
going.
driving like 80 miles an hour back when the speed limit was 55. And you're like, hey, they're talking about a cop. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I'm like, listen closely, what's going on? They're like, he's following somebody. I'm like, they're talking. I said, yeah, it's a dark colored like Bronco or Blazer or some kind of. And I'm like, Art, that's us, man. What have you been
Yeah.
doing? And like, within 10 seconds, the bubblegum machine goes on. We're getting pulled over, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, come, really, man? They're following a Bronco or a Blazer? It's us. Anyway,
I
so
do sort of remember that now. I thought you meant it was in Vale,
no, no,
not the
no.
way home. That was on the way home, right?
No, it was on the way there. It was on the way
He
there.
was on the way there.
So
Okay.
it was Iowa, County Mountie with the trooper hat, and he did not appreciate somebody from Michigan speeding through his state, so he threw me in the back of his
That's
car. You know,
really
yeah, made me feel like I was
okay.
gonna go to jail, gave me a ticket, and said some nasty words and
That
sent us on
wasn't
our
you
way.
that got in trouble at the IGA or whatever grocery store
That was me too.
eating food.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah. Everybody ate a pack of shrimp, and I got arrested and charged with larceny in a building, petty larceny. Yeah.
I don't think I had any of the shrimp. I think I was the one saying you guys don't do
Okay. Did you know you wanted to go to law school then?
No, I decided to go to law school after my brother died.
Okay.
So
Yes.
my senior year in 1986, my brother died, car accident. He was going to go to Temple Law School, and I worked for my father's company after college, silk screening stuff like what I'm wearing, college wear. And I lived in Boulder for 2 years. And I thought about going to business school because I knew my dad. He and his two partners were going to sell the business and get out of it. And a buddy of mine, we were talking, and he said, business school will be boring. You should go to law school. It'll be challenging for you. And it was. Law school was tough for me. I'm more of a math guy than a reading guy. And I got through it, got past the bar, and did a general practice for about 5 years. Went into bank, and one of them was bankruptcy. And when I moved back, I was living in a small county. It's Adams County, Ohio. It's one of the smallest and poorest counties in the state. You've seen the movie Michael J. Fox, Doc Hollywood.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Okay, I was basically Doc Hollywood. I mean, when people were trying to fix me up with their daughter, and it was nice. I enjoyed living out there. I was a big fish in a small sea, And when I moved back to Cincinnati, I did real estate and bankruptcy and domestic relations. Then I just went straight into bankruptcy. So I enjoy bankruptcy because I'm good with numbers and there are numbers involved. Um, so yeah, that's where I am. That's why I went into law. I always thought I didn't go to law school to be a lawyer, but for the past 20, I mean, it's been what, 26 years I've been a lawyer. So should have stayed in sales.
You know, when in conversations you said, last 26 years. When somebody says, yeah, 25 years ago, yeah, 15 years ago, yeah, 30 years ago, as often as you say, the other week, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Yeah.
Time is just flying by. I was talking to Huey last night, and I said something about, I forget, something that had to do with getting older. I said, man, we're getting old. And he's like, dude, we are old. It's like, we're in our mid 50s. Who are you kidding? We're
Yeah.
old. And I was like, okay. I'm not conceding to that. No way. No
Yeah.
way.
I remember one time I came back. I don't know if no, I think did you know Ed W, Tall Ed, Big Ed?
Sure. Sure. Big Ed.
Okay. It was a frat party and he's sitting on top of the steps looking down and I was coming down the steps and I said, hey, Ed, what's going on? And he was probably 2 years or 1 year out of college. And he's like, I am too old for this shit. And I was like, you're never too old for anything like this. When I lived in Boulder, all my friends were in college and I was the old guy. I was 2 or 3, 4 years older. And when I turned 25, a buddy of mine, he's like, Art, you're a quarter century old. I'm like, well, Bill, thanks for pointing that out, but I'm only a couple years older than you. But no, I didn't feel too old when I was living in Boulder. But if I was go back to college now and check everything out, we're old. We're old dudes.
Kids look at us and we're old. We're old. That's
Yeah.
just a fact, man. I'll tell you, the first time I thought, like, I'm getting older, I think I was in my 30s. I was reaching for a parking ticket, like out the window, and I couldn't quite
Mm-hmm.
reach it, and I don't have the best, like, trunk mobility. So I really extend and go to reach the thing and pulled a muscle. I'm like, oh, fucking A, man. Pulled a muscle in my back. And I'm like, oh, what's happening to me? I was probably 35. And that was the first time I was like, okay, things are changing. But whatever. That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still having fun. I'm young at heart. I'm young mentally. So I think
So you hurt yourself skiing, right?
barefoot water skiing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When was the last time we saw each other? School? Graduation?
It was probably a
Maybe a
homecoming.
football game?
I've been to a few games.
Have I seen you in the last 5 or 10 years?
Probably last time I was at a game.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's if you remember, Chuck
Pager has a
tailgate.
tailgate, so I was there. I think you were there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I see so many people, I kind of forget. But yeah, I broke my neck barefoot water skiing when I was 26. So that was 27 years
Okay.
ago. Yep. That was a pretty significant but temporary damper. And
Yeah,
I found my way. I miss skiing,
that's good.
but like I said, I found my way. Life goes on. I'll tell you,
When you
want to
say
hear
ski, water or snow ski?
I miss snow skiing. Water skiing was something to do in
Okay.
the summer. I think everybody who knew me knew snow skiing was my thing. I miss that. But you know
Yes.
what? You know what I really miss? Fortunately, I was born with the music gene, and after graduating from college, I got really, I don't know about serious, but I guess serious about playing the guitar, and I played the guitar
Okay.
pretty much 7 days a week for at least an hour. I just loved it, and I got good real fast. And I really, because I lost the dexterity in my fingers, really miss playing the guitar. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
That's a lifelong. Skiing. We get busy, and it's not like something. I used to go up north most weekends, and it's just not something that's sustainable from time or body abuse type of thing. But certain things that you can do every day. I miss the guitar.
Yeah.
But skiing's kind of like golf now. Um, get out west a couple times a year, enjoy the nature. I did the sit ski thing. There's like a, for people who are paralyzed or amputees or whatever. If you
Right.
go to Vail, they've got a program, you might see it, but you sit and you're over kind of a set of wide skis. And I did that for a couple years, and it just got to the point where I could never, go ski highline, if you remember that, go rip through the bumps or anything. And I was like, what, I just got to let this go. Certain things you just got to let go. Just
Yeah.
like
I
when
had
you're
to
getting
quit
older,
skiing.
Go ahead.
I've had three knee surgeries on my left knee. I tore my ACL in Blue Sky Basin, and it really never got better. And then I had a meniscus tear, and then some other issues. And now I've had 3 sets of chicken gel shots. When I say chicken gel, the gel they put in your knee, and it helps, but I'll never be able to ski again. So I miss that. I miss soccer. I miss softball. I still play golf. I bowl, and because of coronavirus, our bowling league was cut short. So that's sort of a downer.
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah, I'm cooped up. So you know, my big hobby actually became car racing in 2003. In 2008, I
okay,
bought a vet and got real serious about it and got pretty good at it. Got regionally pretty competitive. That was a lot of fun.
okay,
Gave that up when my partner Sherry got sick. I haven't done it in a few years. And the plan was to rekindle that this summer, but I don't see, a gathering where everybody parks in a paddock and you're, car to car to car. I don't see that starting up this summer. So
right.
who knows,
What
man?
type of racing was it
It's called
that you
autocross.
did?
It's called autocross.
Okay,
So it's like the bump skiing version of car racing. So autocross, I could probably, if I had been prepared, I should have prepared to pull up a video of it. But
I'm familiar with it.
okay, if you do it at a big enough venue, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Um, and like I said, it's kind of the bump skiing of car racing. I've
Okay,
done open track stuff, and honestly, it's kind of boring. You get on a straightaway and you can go real fast, but you sit there and you put your foot to the floor and you're just kind of going and waiting and waiting and waiting. What's fun for me is the braking and the turning and the accelerating.
right.
Autocross is just crazy that way. So, but
I've done the
yeah.
mini go karts. It's called Motocross Country Club of Cincinnati, and you're racing with other. When I say go kart, I mean they can go up to what 40, 60 miles an hour,
Oh, there's
and
carts. There's open track carts that go 100 miles an hour.
okay, that's what this is. And NASCAR and Indy drivers go there to practice. And we did a Groupon. My friend and I, Dave and I, we went there on a Groupon coupon. You're supposed to get 15 minutes on the track. No one was there that day, so the guy let us drive for about 45 minutes.
Ah, that's cool.
And it was, you're going around, you're shaking, you're going around. You got the helmet, glasses. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but I enjoyed it. I did the IndyCar experience at the Kentucky Speedway, and I got up to 158.
That's fast.
But
I've gone
yeah,
over
my friend did
150.
162.
Yeah, I've gone over 150 twice in my life, and that's fast. That
Mm-hmm.
feels fast. Shit happens very, very quickly when you're going over like 120, 130.
Yeah.
That's
How
serious
fast have you
fast.
gone in your Corvette?
100, 150, 160.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
I've gone up
funny.
to 100.
Go ahead.
I've gone up to 100. I have a Audi RS5,
Okay.
and I've gone up to 130 on it.
Yeah. So I had two vets until I wrecked one, and they're just bone stock. They're the C6, so they're 2 generations ago. Um, bone stock vets, 120, 130 in those cars feels like 80 in another car. Between the
Mm-hmm.
aerodynamics and the fact that they're just built to go that fast, it doesn't even feel fast. I would you stomp on it on the freeway and you're going 125, and just in a few seconds, and you don't even realize it. And there's just room to go. Bone stock vet goes 180. So
Hmm.
that's like I said, the couple of
Crazy.
times I've stayed on it, especially on a freeway, you know, things are going by really, really quickly when you're going that quickly. But back to your carts, yeah. So carts are serious competition. There's two things. One is managing the car, and then you probably learn this. The other thing is, and you don't even have to have the fastest cart to be the fastest guy. You got to know where to go. If you don't take the right
Right.
lines and you add distance to all your laps, you won't win, no matter how fast your car is. I learned that the first time I went on the big track. There was a guy, and this car was all raced out, but there was a guy in a frickin' Ford Focus, four banger, and on the straightaways, I would pass him, and then, there's like a couple of S curves and a chicane, and this guy would overtake me in the curves because he just knew how to drive that much better. I'm like, really?
Yeah. That's
Anyway, yeah,
crazy.
karting is serious. Most of the NASCAR and Indy people like Danica Patrick and others started out doing SCCA racing. Their parents were into it, and they develop the gene, start racing at 5, 6, 7 years old and just get good at it. Some of the guys who were super good, who start racing, they get, guys will look at them at these, bigger towns, Detroit, Toledo, around here. One guy that I know that's really, really good is he got recruited and invited to try out, I don't remember the team, to ultimately, be considered to go to NASCAR, but it didn't transfer. You might be super good at taking the line and driving the car fast, but once you go wheel to wheel, it's, positioning the car against other cars, and then do you have the balls to just flat out say, I don't care, I'll crash. And that's one of the reasons I stopped doing the big track events is you need to be prepared to crash and to say fuck it and walk
Right.
away from however expensive your car is. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Have you ever been to the Lexington, Ohio track?
No,
Mid
I've just
Ohio?
done it. I've just done. After I did a few events here at a local track that's not huge, um, and kind of processed that decision. I was like, yeah, I would have liked to have done Mid Ohio. There's a lot of SCCA events there. I was going to get my full competition license, and I was one event away, and I was going to come down there. But again, that's when I just backed off and said, the big track's not for me. And the other thing, my reality is, I did have one accident in autocross, and I couldn't get out of the car. And it wasn't a big deal. It was relatively low speed, but I was pinned against a fence. And I'm like, if there's like fire here or whatever, I'm dead. I'm
Yeah.
dead. And like, burning up in a car is not on my list of things to do.
Right. Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes to, if I can't get out of the car quickly, I think I'll just stick to cones in a big open space. Anyway, but yeah,
Anyway,
anyway, speaking of burning up, yeah, I don't see that happening. The one thing I'm curious is if we'll have a college football season.
really,
Yeah.
I hope not, because
You hope
it'll
it's,
mess up practice.
you hope we don't have one, or you hope it's not canceled?
I hope it's not canceled. I would really suck.
Yeah, think about it though. It's about 6, 7 months away. Are they prepared to put 100,000 people, 2.5 feet away from each other?
Right.
That's a petri dish.
I really thought with some sports, I can see why they would cancel them. Golf, I didn't. I was amazed that golf was canceled. No spectators, fine. It's not a contact sport. You're not. You can have social distancing on a golf course, but you know we don't have golf. We have zero sports right now.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, or
this is definitely.
maybe they'll do empty stadium college sports, college football.
But then you have the college. they're right in each other's face. There's sweat. Basketball, you're right in each other's face. There's sweat. There's fluids that are transferred to one another, no
Yeah.
matter what. So maybe it's a year there are no sports out. Olympics being postponed is one thing, but imagine yourself training and training and training to make the U.S. Olympic training. Any team, doesn't matter U.S. Any
Yeah.
team, you did all this training, and there goes your dream.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. But they
So,
said next. Yeah, I can see. They said next summer. I can see
mhm.
that realistically happening. Um, but yeah, definitely a heartbreaker, especially if you're kind of like a one and done where you've got your window and you're probably not going to make it the second time. But I was thinking about that. The thing is, they have the Olympic Village set up, so they're going to have all these young athletes or whatever, any age athlete, all packed on top of each other, and just again, that's kind of setting up a petri dish for this, the way things are.
Right. Yeah, that
Eh.
makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, just
it's too bad.
not happy. Yeah, it's crazy time. We're living through a crazy time right now.
Yeah.
One thing that I've sort of said, can you imagine the outlash that Americans would have had if Trump said, no NFL, no PGA, no March Madness, everyone has to stay in their house? I mean, I'm glad governors took over and are saying this. And I just think if Trump would have said it, there would have been people would have said, I'm not doing that because Trump can't tell me what to do. But with the governors taking charge, you're seeing a lot of good leadership out of the governors on what they're doing. And I think it was the appropriate way for things to have occurred. And I think probably 90% of the people are paying attention. In Cincinnati, they're closing the parks now. Keeping an eye on the parks. They took down the basketball hoops because people were playing basketball. But they're, social distancing. Um, it's a serious thing right now. And maybe a month, 3 weeks ago, I was like, this is a joke. The regular flu kills more people, but it's not passed on like this corona is. So we're definitely living through some bizarre times in our life.
You think
I
ninety
posted on
percent?
Facebook.
You think 90% are taking it seriously and paying close attention?
Or you think it's more or less?
I think it's less.
Really?
I think in the big cities, like yesterday when they said Beaumont Hospital's closed in Detroit, I think people were like, "Holy shit, this is for real." Um,
No.
I don't, 2 weeks ago today, the bars in Detroit for St. Patrick's Day were packed.
No. They closed us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and
I mean, I would. Go ahead.
and the following Tuesday, I saw a couple of videos where there were Catholic churches or whatever the denomination was, churches that were full of people celebrating, St. Patrick's Day service. I'm like, are you out of your freaking minds? I,
Yeah.
it was bewildering, especially since it was
There's a
significant
bar.
here.
There's a bar in Cincinnati that I go to almost every St. Patrick's Day, and I talked to the owner's sister yesterday, and she was telling me that they bought all this meat because they make all the food they make, and a lot of it they had to throw out, but a lot of the liquor and beer that they bought for St. Patty's Day, the distributor bought back. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have St. Patrick's Day. I was at a bar 3 weeks ago, and someone could sneeze, and you could see people going, "Hey, coronavirus!" But that was the last time I've been anywhere socially,
Yeah.
and I mean, I feel fine. And then I saw something that said that if you had a cold, if you felt like you had a flu or congested something,
Upper
one thing
respiratory
I don't like.
infection.
Thank you, sir. One reason I did not go into litigation or why I don't like court, I'll be thinking of a word that I want to say and I cannot get it out. So I do have that problem sometimes. But they were saying, this study said, if you had upper respiratory issues back in December, you may have had the coronavirus. I had it was in December, and it probably was just bronchitis, but I didn't have a fever. I didn't, I just had upper respiratory congestion in my lungs. And it was probably the longest I've ever had an issue like that. Usually it goes away in a couple days. This lasted me for about 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, you very well may have had it. There was a guy
But
who
no
had
one
the
else,
off,
my wife didn't get sick. My wife did not get sick.
or she got it and she was one of the asymptomatic people.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. The guy who had the
Yeah.
office kind of a little bit down and across the hall from me had an awful respiratory infection kind of mid-late February, and he had all the symptoms. He had a fever, this dry, painful cough, and it took him, like you said, much longer than usual to get over it. And I remember hearing this guy just hacking up a lung, you know, his door less than 10 feet from mine. So he thinks he had it.
But you didn't get sick. No.
I
So,
had
but
a couple of
still,
weeks ago a really, really, really bad sore throat, and like my glands swelled up, and my neck was painful. I hadn't been sick like that since I was a little kid, and who knows? And that hung on for a couple of weeks, which is unusual for me. Usually a cold for
right.
me is like 2, 3, 4 days, and that was almost 2 weeks where I was still, just congested and kind of not chest coughing, but just kind of like low, clearing my throat. Could have been in my upper lungs. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be
So
good if we had it and now we're immune or semi-immune, but I'm not taking chances.
that's
At
good.
some point they'll
No one
start
should take
testing
a
us.
chance.
Yeah. Yeah, because it hits so many people really hard. There's a local news guy who got sick here, and he was on the mend, and he came on the air, partly to say, "Hey, I'm okay," and partly to convey a message. But he didn't have a fever, he didn't have a cough, and he didn't have shortness of breath. But he had and he tested positive. He had body aches. He said that were so severe. One day he said he physically could not bring himself to get out of bed. It was so painful. He said for 2 days it was all I could do to roll over. Yeah, and he was married, so he had, a wife who could, bring him food and help him to the bathroom and all that. But it was interesting. The symptoms seem to manifest themselves a little bit differently in different people.
Okay.
Who knows? Who knows? So, anything good come of staying home, and any bright side?
I'm more. I'm relaxed. I get phone calls from clients saying, it's mainly chapter 13. You know the difference between chapter 7 and chapter 13?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, chapter 13, for those out there who don't know, it's a repayment plan. You're in it 3 to 5 years. If you miss some payments, a couple months worth, the trustee will file a motion to dismiss. The trustee is the person who administers the case. So I have clients call me, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I basically just say, do the best you can. You have to prioritize the money you receive. If the stimulus package comes through and you get some of the money, you can make a payment, make a payment. But what good has come through all this? I think maybe people are being nicer to each other. Just I mean, really the only people that I've talked to, I played golf the other day and it was with my guys I played regular golf with. Um, people are getting yard work done. People are walking more, maybe exercising, what exercise they can do. But it's just, never lived through something like this, and it's going to take its toll. And there's, my wife and I, we did a puzzle. We watched some movies. We played Yahtzee. So Yahtzee's, maybe we'll play some more Yahtzee. I
Yeah.
was talking to Pribs on Facebook, and he was doing a puzzle. And I said, you have the box out. You can't look at the box when you do a puzzle. That's cheating. He's like, "Oh, come on, you're being, that's
That's funny.
ridiculous. You're supposed to look at the box." So when my wife and I we did this puzzle, I put the box on top of the china cabinet. I mean, we had a good idea of what it was about, and she saw the box because she bought it, but we didn't look at the box at all, and it was fun doing it without. My mom used to say it's cheating when you're looking at the box.
Like doing a
So
crossword puzzle with an encyclopedia set right there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever played Scrabble? Is it Scrabble where you get all the letters and on the
Put them on the
board?
board with the wooden
Yeah.
squares. Yeah.
So I had a friend who the words he would come up with were so ridiculous that we had to look them up. Like, just it was like, that's not a word. And he goes, look it up in the dictionary. And there it was. And it was like,
Oh,
it's a
really?
33 word. Yeah.
This guy's like a word savant.
Yeah. It was like the simplest words, and like a 3-4 letter word that you never heard of, but it's in the dictionary, so it counted. But
So was this
you
guy
know,
lucky or smart or maybe both?
I think he and his wife played Scrabble a lot, and so that's how they knew.
Okay.
No, but he is a smart guy. He's a professor.
Oh,
Um, he's an economics professor up at UD. But yeah, so you have to find ways to keep yourself busy besides watching TV and movies, and people are. Um, I watched. Have you watched Ozark?
I have not.
Okay, Ozark is on Netflix.
Okay.
I had friends telling me, "Oh, you gotta watch Ozark. You gotta watch Ozark." There was 2 seasons or 3 seasons, like 30 shows or whatever. I watched it all in 1 week. It's that good. It is a little violent, but it's that good. Have you watched the? And this is stuff that I did not this past couple of weeks. I've already done this, but have you watched the Marvelous Miss Maisel,
No.
Mrs. Maisel?
No.
That's excellent. That's on Amazon Prime. And people tell you I can't get into Game of Thrones. I can't get into Walking Dead. Um, there's other shows that I just cannot get into, and so I don't watch them. But there are shows
Right.
out there that are good to watch,
Right
worth
now,
watching.
I'm really enjoying. I really liked it when it was on. I'm doing the practice right now. I've been watching 2 3
Okay.
episodes a day. I really liked that, and it's good. It's good now. There was what show did I revisit? Oh, I put West Wing on. West Wing does not is not timeless. It's
Okay.
very very
I didn't watch
dated.
that.
You've not watched it? If you've
West Wing,
never
no.
if you never saw it, it might be worth a watch. But if you have seen it, it's kind of it it didn't hold its timelessness. But anyway,
Okay.
so Ozark and Miss Maisel. Um,
Yes.
okay.
Now, 2 or 3 years ago, I had a ruptured disc in my lower back, and I couldn't sleep at all. And so I until I had the surgery, it was probably about 2 or 3 weeks. So I rewatched every episode of The Sopranos. In the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep, so I
Yeah.
was watching 4 episodes a night,
You know,
and finally get.
I had never seen The Sopranos, and I started watching it a few months ago before coronavirus, and I was really into it, and it was great. I think I saw an episode years ago, and I thought it didn't appeal to me. Was really into it, and then after about 3 seasons, it kind of, I don't know, it lost its luster.
Jump the
Maybe I'll
shark.
maybe I'll give it another go. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a lot of good episodes, or a lot of good
Yeah.
shows rather, to watch. I mean, for me, the one thing is
Um,
my dogs are just loving that I'm home. Yeah, they're following me around. They're like, what's going on? You're here all the time. Lucy's looking at me right now. What's going on over there? Yeah, yeah. So they're happy about it. But Ricky's my little shadow. So when we get
what are
back
your
to
dogs'
normal,
names?
Lucy and Ricky, which
That's funny.
yes, I was opposed to that, and I finally knuckled under. Um, and Sadie. So Sadie's 13. She just turned 13. Lucy's
Oh
6,
wow.
and Ricky's 3 or 4. So we had Lucy,
Okay.
and Sherry wanted a third dog, and I was like, that's too much, man. That's too much. And she fell in love with this little guy online, which is how we wound up with Lucy, and we got him, and then she and her granddaughter were like adamant that he's got to be named Ricky. I'm like, no way. And they just beat me down. And it's Lucy and Ricky. And it's funny because he's like, they're piebald, which in Dachshund world is like a pinto pony color. They're white
Okay.
and splotchy. So Ricky is white with red hair, and Lucy's mostly dark black hair. So the hair colors are flipped. But I don't know where I'd be around here without him.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
quite enough.
Dogs are great.
Dogs are great. Dogs are awesome. They got my back.
Yeah.
They got my back. All right. Well, I think we've been at it about an hour. You
Really?
want to?
Wow.
You want? Yeah.
I've enjoyed this. I really don't like looking at my face too much. I need to lose weight.
Art, you're a handsome man.
But I appreciate that. That's what our wife says. But no, I've enjoyed this. This was fun. I would do this again.
If you're comfortable, let's put it up, and let's revisit each other. And there's some people, like I told you, other SIGs that I like to connect with. To put more of a stills and clever 2, 3, 4 sentence comments on Facebook are cool, but this, people are getting into. I mean, this is a video cast, but it's also listenable as a podcast. So I just thought I'd do this and bring some names and faces and voices. T. Smith, who does a lot of movie stuff.
Oh, really?
A younger SIG. He talked about potentially doing a podcast, and I said, hey, I've been doing this, and I sent him a link to a few of the kind of more radio type shows that I told you about. And he said it was really good to see you and hear your voice. He said, I felt like I was back in college again. So I thought, let's do more of this and connect with people and let people, see how you look and how you sound. And you sound exactly the same and you act exactly the same. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Okay, good.
So yeah. And let's keep in touch. I mean, when I called you, you responded so quickly. I was excited.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I contacted Art yesterday, and here we are doing it today. So that's pretty cool. All right, well, let's call it a wrap.
Okay.
I'm going to start music, and outside of this, I'll keep in touch. This was definitely fun.
Only if in case some of my Ohio friends are listening. Go Blue! Ohio State sucks.
Go Blue! Yeah, that's right. All right, I'm going to fade in some music and fade this guy over. Oh, what this stands for is now I'm missing words just like you. It's a play on words. More to come later.
WTF?
So, WTF. All right, so off you are. And all right, good talking to you, Art. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Watch.
take care.
Listen. All right.
Bye.
Bye.